What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActiveMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about We Grow Now. Grown Now. We Grown Now. It's hard to say it when you say it really fast to get that N on the groan. Um, it's actually a second look at the film. This is my second time watching the film, but first time with audio description. This movie is available on Netflix, and it's got audio description produced by Media Access Group, narrated by Inger Tudor. This was originally a sort of like somewhat of a surprise nominee for Best Picture at last year's Independent Spirit Awards, so that's how I got to see it. I'm a Spirit Awards voter, and I got a screener for that. Unfortunately, at the time, I don't think the film had distribution. I don't think it was distributed through Sony Pictures Classics at the time, so there was no way to reach out and be like, "Hey, do you have audio description? Can I get up on that?" So I just kind of watched the screener that didn't have it. I thought the movie was good, but it was tilting at windmills. Last year's Best Picture nominees included American Fiction and All of Us Strangers, which were like two of my four favorite films of the year last year. So, yeah. I can't even remember which one I voted for. It's almost like a coin toss. But it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I think the film deserves all the praise in the world. There were a lot of films that I loved last year, and We Grow Now just being the one that I didn't have accessibility for, just kind of, well, I was like less motivated, I guess you could say. But I don't think it actually got a theatrical release until this year, so I'm wondering if it's actually eligible for everybody else. I don't know how it got Spirit Awards consideration, maybe because of the festivals that it went to, which would be weird if we just considered movies that debuted at festivals but then didn't wait for like a full year, because I think last year we voted on The Holdovers, but The Holdovers actually was at a festival before that. So anyway, I don't understand the rules and how this works. But this is my second look, and if it's eligible this year, I think people should consider it. They're not going to, but I think they should. Movie's about Malik and Eric, who are two young boys growing up in a housing project in Chicago in 1992, and the story that gets told with them and around them about their friendship. It's actually fairly I would say family friendly. Like, I think everybody could watch this. It's a coming of age story between these two friends and living in an area where it's just that's their home, that's their life. They don't think about the constant dangers. This isn't like one of those shows where like around every corner danger lurks. Black people in Chicago, danger everywhere. It takes a much more innocent approach to sort of a perspective from these little kids, and not like thug life, hood dreams, like Malik is definitely the more prominent of the two characters, and Eric seems more like the best friend. But they definitely are still number one and number two in terms of who has the most screen time. It's just when given the opportunity, we tend to follow Malik more than we do Eric. So we follow them. They do this thing called where they jump, but like who can jump higher, and just like little sort of they have like a little playground area, where the kids can play, and lots of jump roping and double dutching and basketball, and they have this pile of discarded mattresses and tires that they can jump over. So, and they brag about jumping higher, and it's like, it kind of reminds me of like all the little games like as a kid that I created based around like where you were at the time. Like, they're not even like real games. It's like you and your friends come up with a game. You're like, what if we did that? And we ran over there and we touched that. And then you jumped, and then you had to do that to do that. And then, yeah, it's just like, it doesn't even matter. It's just like, but it feels so important at the time, your ability to do that one specific thing. Um, so, regardless of later on in life where you ever remember what it is or not, I remember being abnormally good at hide and seek for somebody of my size. Like, I used to be able to spot out the best spots and never be found. I was always the tallest and I was fat. So I shouldn't be good at hide and seek. Like, I should be the first one found, and I oftentimes was like the last one found. So, um, that is my that's my jump is, but that's pretty standard. I mean, that's hide and seek. That's kids play that all the time. But it's about the relatability of it. It's about being able to take adults back to a time period when they were doing stuff like that. And the fact that on the court you've still got people playing basketball and doing jump rope and stuff. It's like, even if you didn't make up your own games, even if you didn't run around and just do silly crap, you still got like two games playing back there. Like, everybody's jumped rope at some time, everybody shot a basketball. I mean, you've still got games happening, around you that are the same. So they both have parents. Actually, they both have family, I should say. Malik has a mother played by Jurnee Smollett, a grandmother played by Esapitha Murkison, and a younger sister played by, I don't know. I'm just gonna be honest, she doesn't have that much screen time. And same thing for over on Eric's side. Eric has a dad played by Laurel Howery and an older sister played by, I don't know, she doesn't have that much screen time. Just the sisters in this film really got the raw deal. They have like a couple lines of dialogue. Malik's sister is mostly there to just whine, and Eric's sister is older and is more supportive. And I guess kind of looks after Eric when the dad isn't around because his mother passed away. It doesn't really specifically mention where Malik's father is, but I don't know that it needs to. I mean, I did find kind of like the interesting dynamic was that these two are best friends and they're both being raised by single parents of different genders. And I feel like a different movie would have tried to put those people together, Jurnee Smollett, Laura Howery, and then like, oh, maybe they'll become brothers, or it would have had the brothers trying to get their parents together. I feel like that's a different movie, but it did cross my mind, like, having watched this, and especially when you watch with audio description, you get sort of like the full picture. You're like, okay, so the writers just really wanted this to be a very specific story, not necessarily, like a Hollywood story. But I feel like the Hollywood version of this story is, oh my God, we should get our parents together and then we could live together. And it's like, I don't know that they're worried about that. I think they're just thinking about, school sucks. I just want to jump. And you just want to hang out. Oh, damn, that kid, that 7-year-old who lived in our area just got shot. There's a kid who, off camera, in case you're worried about traumatizing your kids for the rest of your life, dies in a sort of like random gang violence shooting, and lived in their specific housing project. So that gets heavy, and then that's where you sort of feel the divisiveness in how we treat people who are in these projects, and the kind of control we exert over them, and sort of the whole basically kneeling on somebody till they can't breathe is that it's like, because you live in a housing project, we exert full and complete control over your life, and you have to do everything that we say. So after the shooting, like, they show up and suddenly they all have to have ID in order to even enter their home. So they have to be issued these housing project IDs to show that that is, like, they're supposed to be where they are. And then they just get like a random semi-violent search of the property at 2 a.m. in the morning, where police kind of like bust in and they're breaking shit they don't need to break. It's just, I feel like people are gonna be like, well, this is why people hate cops, and it's like, that's not why people hate cops. usually these things are put in there because other people have had these kinds of experiences with cops. If everybody in real life just had amazing experiences with cops all the time, they'd be writing about them. They'd be like, oh my God, I was just sitting at home and a cop just came up to my door and just gave me pizza for like no reason whatsoever. I was just like, is this pizza? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm a cop. Just doing my duty, man. Doing my duty, you know? But unfortunately, too many people have really negative reactions because generally you meet police officers during uh, uncomfortable moments to like the worst moment of your life. Like either just moments that you're like, oh, I don't know. It's rare that you meet somebody in sort of like a friendly, like a an exchange. And so in those times when they could be using those as positive ways, I think so many of those opportunities are missed to balance out the shit that the reality is that most of the times when you deal with cops, it's in a situation that you never want to remember again. So even if you did nothing wrong, even if it's just triggering sometimes for people to see people in police uniforms, because sometimes it means it's tied to an incident that they'd rather forget. So it's not necessarily a great and easy thing to translate. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking like, well, this is a bit much, it's like, well, think about where it came from. So and maybe that there's some learning that we could do here, and transformational processes that we could put into place so that that way the next generation of people who are coming up and who will eventually be making films won't be making the same stories with the same experiences, because that will not be their experience. So it's all about the voices in the room. It's all about the voices and what inspires them. And so this is obviously what inspired this team to make this film. But I think at its heart, it works really well as a coming of age story. And when you follow Malik's journey, probably more so than Eric's, it resonates even a lot more. Audio description wise, it's a really nice track. And I have to say, I hope, I don't know Inger, we've never spoken. I've spoken to a lot of audio description narrators over the course of me doing this. I would encourage responsible casting in terms of audio description for We Grow Now, because I feel like it's one of those films that is very representational of a certain culture. A very specific cast has been chosen for this to tell this story, for very specific people, of a very specific people from their perspective. And I think it's a perspective that it should not be that hard to find somebody to translate it. Do I think it's Inger? I don't think so. I could be wrong. So it's a nebulous territory to start getting into, sounds like. But I don't have the connection at Media Access Group that I do with some of the other companies. So I don't know how much they think about responsible casting in terms of matching the right people to the right projects, and just not just hiring from their usual stable. Inger does a lot of work for Media Access Group. I think she's a great narrator. And she does a very lovely job here. So if it could be worse, it could be bad narration, it could be TTS audio description. So, I mean, there are much worse things that it could be than somebody who's not necessarily part of this story, who's sort of on the outside looking in. Even me commenting on this, it's like, it's not my story, but I'm also not claiming it to be. So I'm just commenting on the film and how I felt about it and whether or not I think you should watch it. So I don't think anybody looked at me with my Stranger Things t-shirt on and a purple hat and thought, wow, he shares this experience. So I think you should check out We Grow Now. It's on Netflix. And it's definitely a film that will fly under the radar if you don't watch it. But it's a film that deserves to be watched and acknowledged, recognized, loved, cherished, And it's a film that I would love to see pop up. I don't think it's going to pop up the Oscars. I don't think it's going to pop up a major. I'd love to see some critics put this on their list. Some of the critic circle groups just mention it, just to sort of say, like, we saw this and we recognize that it got a 2024 theatrical. So that's why we're going to put it on our list. But if it's ineligible, it's ineligible. I don't know everybody's rules and guide. I feel like it can break out more from the Spirit Awards. We don't necessarily need to watch things only produced by major distributors. So part of me hated the Andrea Riseborough thing because I think it cost Danielle Detweiler her nomination. But at the same time, I also really love the hell out of it because so many films like hers go under the radar. So at the same time, I would hate to say that Andrea Riseborough knocked Danielle Detweiler out for Till, and just kind of blame somebody else in that category because I think Andrea Riseborough's performance in that film was fantastic. And we should be watching more films like that. I should be able to have Oscar consideration conversations talking about films like We Grow Now. I should be able to predict Thelma, even though it's being distributed by a distributor not known for getting movies to the Oscar. Magnolia does not get Oscar-nominated films. A lot of people are iffy on Mike Leigh's film Hard Truths because it's being distributed by Bleecker Street. So if it was less political in terms of distribution, then we would be watching these films. Unfortunately, it's very much about who is distributing you. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side. Oh, I forgot. I should grade this film. Never mind. I technically already graded this film, which is why I wasn't on. It's because I already saw this and it was a screener and it didn't have distribution, so I gave it a pass instead of calling it unwatchable. I went ahead and graded it because I felt like it was an independent film, and I didn't quite understand the process of should they do it if they don't have distribution. So, and now that it does have distribution and everything, I like the film. I think it's a great film, and it's underrepresented. So I'm gonna give We Grown Now. Man, it's We Grown Now. It is really hard to say We Grown Now with the two N's back to back. I'm giving it an A+. Anyway, just A. It's not a Desert Island film. I'm not taking it to a Desert Island. A. It's getting A. Damn, this is a weird review at the end. Jesus. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.